In this module, we are going to understand about the system feedback mechanisms, how we can, you can say, send the feedback, how you can get a feedback. Okay, so we have seen just now something called App Insight, how to utilize the App Insight in terms of your application utilization and other things. Okay, now we are going to understand about the different feedback mechanism, how we can go ahead and implement a feedback into your DevOps, and how we can implement and use those performance feedback from the client, from the customer, from the different levels. As we have seen, feedback is one of the important thing in the DevOps mechanism. Okay, so we have to always look for the feedback from each and every step, and we have to keep improving our performance into our DevOps lifecycle. In this module, we are going to understand about the site reliability engineer, one of the, we can say, one of the important part into our DevOps methodology, or you can say DevOps cycle, an important role of the site reliability engineer. We'll talk about something called design practices for how we can measure the end user satisfaction, how we can look for the client satisfaction, how we can improve the process in order to get a feedback from the user. Okay, what is the process to analyze those feedbacks, and how we can maintain and manage those kind of alert, and instead of blaming the people, we should make a good culture into our environment so that we will be able to make a good DevOps practice, or we can make a good project internally. If you're going to understand about something called site reliability engineer, okay, uh, now a lot of people work nowadays as a site reliability engineer. And site reliability engineer, if you talk about this kind of designation, it is going to help your developer. So basically, site reliability engineer is a bridge, you can say, to get those feedback either from the system, either from the client, or they get a requirement. They can look at the system. Basically, they are going to monitor your system, and they are going to get a logs from the system, and they are going to help of developer to incorporate those changes. Okay, so this is the role which site reliability engineer performs. So who can get analyze the feedback, they are going to monitor your application, and then finally they provide the details to your developers, so that developers can go ahead and improve the performance of your application and to implement into your organization, you can say. Now we are going to understand about the design practice to measure user satisfaction. When user, you are asking any of the feedback from the user, basically different kind of feedbacks we used to get. Okay, we can think about the something feedback if you are going to get from the customer. We can raise a survey with the customer. We expect some feedback from the customer. Okay, and generally you'll find this kind of thing in the real environment, that some customer is giving us so much detailed information to you. Okay, some customer just give a one liner which doesn't provide the much of the feedback. Okay, some customer doesn't react on the feedback. Okay, so these are up, but you have to raise a survey always with the customer or any other whomsoever you are giving your service. You should raise your feedback, you should expect some information from them, so that you can go ahead and incorporate that kind of application into your application, or you can enhance your application, you can enhance your services that you'll be able to do. Okay, you have basically sometime we have seen as part of our project as well. Sometime if you ask the feedback, okay, for your current application which you have released, or current cycle you have released, customer will say, okay, you are releasing a chat feature, you are asking for feedback for that application. Let's suppose that customer says, okay, voice calling is not available in this application. We have not yet released that, and it was not in the plan even. Okay, but we got a feedback from the customer that voice calling is not there, but it was not in the plan, it was not in the development, but they are expecting some new kind of feature. That is also a good indication for me. Okay, so either I can prioritize that work if the customer is looking for that kind of feature into the application, so that I can prioritize those work. I can go ahead and incorporate that in the future sprint, so that customer will become happy that most of the people are demanding that kind of feature. I can incorporate that, I can enhance those features, and you will be getting a work for that as well from the client. So that's why we have to think, we have to trigger our survey time to time, we have to look at the data, we have to analyze those data, and we have to understand those kind of data. Now, if you're going to trigger those kind of, you can say survey, we get a different kind of feedback. That's why I told you. Some people say that they give more information in the survey. Some people don't give enough information. They just give a one liner. Some people doesn't react. They become a silent for you, just seeing the feedback, and they move to the delete folder. There could be different type of response which you'll be getting it. You have to analyze the customer behavior, and you have to understand the feedback of the customer. Basically, you let's suppose about Microsoft. Whenever Microsoft release a new feature, okay, they release a training session as well along with the product, or along with the program, so that people will be familiar with the product and they will be going to use that product. Okay, so that's what we are going to achieve using a feedback, or giving a feedback mechanism, or releasing the beta version to the customer. So there could be a different way you will be able to look for the feedback and look for the details from the application. Okay, so in agile DevOps, what we are going to do after every sprint, we always go and demonstrate that feature which we have released in the sprint. We go and demonstrate that feature to the client. Okay, we give our demo that I have incorporated this feature, and this feature works like this. Okay, we expect some feedback. Okay, also we'll have something called, we can say, after every sprint. Okay, anyhow, you have a daily stand-up meeting is a different. After every sprint, you have a demo. You'll have something called retrospective meeting. You'll be having it, so that you'll be able to understand that what went well, what was not went well, how to improve the performance, and if we are giving a demo to the client, what is the feedback for from the client for that particular product. So these are the few things which you have to keep in mind, and you have to make your product more interactive, and which you'll be able to get a feedback. You'll be able to capture those feedback, and you can go ahead and incorporate. Okay, uh, this is just a quotation that the customer who is you are asking a feedback. Okay, there will be a multiple customer who remain a silent, and you have to understand their silence as well. So either they are understanding, either they are happy with the product, or they are not happy with the product, how the reaction is. Okay, so you have to understand about those, and you have to look into those silence as well as part of your analysis. If you're going to look at, there is something, hopefully you remember this slide. This slide comes from the release gate. Okay, when you're going to implement a release gate, you have something important now, which you talk about the Twitter sentiment. Okay, so you look at the Twitter sentiment, and Twitter sentiment help you in terms of analyzing customer, you can say customer feedback or customer sentiment. Okay, nowadays Twitter is become a very famous in the market. People every time a small for activity, they go and post the things in the Twitter. Okay, if let's suppose that I'm getting if I have booked a flight, and flight got cancelled, if the payment didn't came in the 4 or 5 days or 1 week, I'm going to post into the Twitter, tagging the flights, and tagging the government of India and other people. I'll tag over there and say that I have not received money yet. Okay, uh, that is and tagging the airlines as well. So what happens, the airlines reacts very fast. Why? because they look at the Twitter and they think that Twitter is their market, and if people are going to post those kind of thing, their market will go down and people will not book the flight from next time onwards. So that's why they are looking at the Twitter sentiment, and now you can see this has been incorporated with the gate as well in the release gate which is available, so which you can go and look at the Twitter sentiment uses a cognitive services behind the scene. Okay, and that is going to analyze something called it's having artificial intelligence and machine learning in between. It is going to read the data from the Twitter. It is going to read those text which is tagged with that particular organization or particular airlines. It is going to read that text, and once the text is read, Twitter sentiment is going to understand the sentiment of the customer using that text words. Okay, it is going to analyze that text, and it is going to say that is the customer is very angry, it is customer is happy with the services, and all those sentiment it calculate and it gives a number. And based on the number you can decide that how my customer is performing and how the customer is reacting for my product. Okay, so that you will be able to do using a Twitter sentiment. That's why it is mentioned here. You can go ahead and understand the Twitter sentiment, and then you can decide your product to release into the different environment or not. Okay, so if people are not reacting properly into your first stage, or you can say beta releases, then you have to think about the releasing the product to the production. Okay, so that way you can have this time kind of capabilities implemented into your release cycle. Okay, now you can go ahead and design something called automating your application analytics. Okay, so you can have your uh, uh, response which you can go ahead and create alert. You can integrate your different environment, and you can get those application performance crash dumps logs from the application that you will be able to analyze. You can integrate your telemetry information, how the application insight is performance, how the accurate your insight is. You are going to check those physically, and then you are going to understand that how the telemetry data is going to perform. You need to investigate your telemetry data. You have to look at the logs, you have to look at the monitoring log. Okay, if you think about the Microsoft, like they release the product, they always having a monitoring attached with that. They always look at the customer data, and they do a market research onto that, and then they decide that what product has to be launched, what product cannot be launched. That kind of thing they are going to do, and they are going to make a customer comfortable with that product, so that customer is going to utilize that product. So you have to make your customer comfortable with that product whichever you are going to release to the customer. That will come from the telemetry data, which how the customer is reacting, how the customer is using the tool. Okay, if you're going to recommend some tool and techniques, you have to understand about how the tools are. Okay, how the alert management are configured, how the deployment process are there, uh, what are the tools which is available to analyze that kind of tool. So you have to look at the monitoring, you have to look at the management, you have to look at the automation and the analytics. Okay, and also there is something called monitoring from the end to end you have to consider here. Okay, not only monitoring the alert and the error into the application inside or the Azure monitor or any other monitoring tool. You have to look for the feedback from the customer. You have to look at the behavior of the customer, how the team is feeling. Within the team you have to understand the team feeling, how the other tools are working. You have to look at the different tools, you have to come to do the comparison of the tool. Okay, and that's what you have to understand. And you have, when you are in the DevOps, you have to think about the mindset of the people. Okay, not only the mindset of the tools or mindset of the application, you have to understand the mindset of the people as well, to make the people comfortable into your organization. Now if you're going to talk about the monitoring alert, we have seen the application insight. Okay, so application insight will is going to help you to analyze performance and will be able to do, and this is one of the widely used tool into your Azure, the application insight. For all those application performance you will be able to track, you will be able to do that. Also there is an app inside. You have how to fix those issues. You'll be able to get a response time. You'll be able to get how your page is reacting, how your server is reacting. That thing you will be able to see. And there is something called feature called a smart detection. We have enabled it, but it takes 7 days to get it enabled. Okay, it is going to look at your performance into your application. Okay, how your page is slow, if there is any failure, how to fix those failures. Basically it is going to do a smart detection into your website, and it is going to help you how to improve your application. Okay, so you can go ahead and improve your performance. Okay, you can go ahead and have something called diagnostic, why it is slow, how to improve those features you'll be getting from this application performance actually. Okay, the detection of notification which will be going to implement. uh, if you have, this is just example. Okay, make sure that you remember this kind of slides when the slides are coming, or you go through the that before the examination as well. So this is just example which the server response time is degraded. If server response time is compared with the normal response time, the number of affected user you have to understand. You have to look at the average response time. What was the average response time? Now what is the response time currently? Count of the operation request for the 7 days. You have to compare those. Okay, do the correction between the degradation and the operation, and what are the services impacted, how many peoples are impacted. This kind of thing you have to just understand with comparison to the previous. Okay, and this you will be only able to do when you have a proper data available with you. Okay, uh, you have to always understand that you have to reducing the meaningless and non-actionable alert. So when we have seen how we can go ahead and create alert, but make sure the alert which you are creating, that is a meaningful alert. Okay, which should be having some action, or the critical alert which you are going to do. Because what happens if you try to create alert for all those logs, all the activity which is happening, then people will start ignoring those alert. Make sure the alert is meaningful, alert is critical, which action need to be taken, and then only you are going to notify the people. Otherwise it's unnecessary. If you start troubling the people with the notification from the Azure monitor or Azure application inside, people will start ignoring the alert. And if they will start ignoring the alert, they will ignore the urgent alert as well. So when you are creating alert, being a infra team or the DevOps engineer, you have to understand which is having a high impact into your business, that alert you are going to create. Okay, next we are going to understand about blameless retrospective meeting. Okay, so this is going to talk about just now I told you about that. So when you are going to understand about the people, so this is slides talks about what does it mean if you have a blameless retrospective meeting. So this is a word which comes when you complete your sprint. Then you have a team meeting within the team, where your project manager, your architect, your BAs, your testing team, okay, your scrum master, your developer, everyone has to sit together, and you have to say that what went well previously in this sprint, what was not well, and how to improve the going further. So that's what you have to always discuss about, something called blameless retrospective. You should not blame each other, because what happened, again you have to keep a morale high, which we have seen in the first slide. Okay, first day on the module 1. So you have to develop a culture, you have to build a culture, so that people can trust each other, people can feel safe, people can safe have their own morale. Okay, so that once you start doing that kind of activity, people will stay longer with your application, with your project, or with your organization. Okay, so you have to understand the people, you have to understand the process, and you have to understand the tools as well. So that's what the uh, DevOps talks about. Okay, and that's all about this project and this module. And if you look at this lab is going to talk about how you can integrate your DevOps with your Microsoft team. Okay, we'll not be able to do this lab because I am having challenge with the Microsoft team, and I'll not be able to create a teams, and will not be able to play around. So I'm going to show you this into the lab itself. Okay, so we have a lab available here. So if you look at this lab, this talks about and this lab is having a screen by screen. You have a lab available here as well, which doesn't have a screenshot, which is very difficult in terms of following that. Okay, so I'm following this lab number 17. So no, sorry, lab number 18, implementing feedback mechanism with the Microsoft team. Okay, so this is a lab. It's going to talk about integrating Microsoft team, integrating your DevOps board with the team, integrating your pipeline with the team, integrating your application with the team, integrating and subscribing your app notification into the team. So what this does actually, okay, you should have a trial instance for your Office 16, and then you can install a Microsoft team, and then you can go ahead and do this activity. So once you have a team available here, Microsoft team, then you can go ahead and create your team. Okay, so you're going to create a new team. Once you create a team, you are going to assign a people inside the team if you have the team, and you are going to create a team name. Okay, Delvin Traders team. You can assign your team inside that, and then once your team is ready, you are going to integrate your Microsoft team with your DevOps services. Okay, you are going to use a connector called Azure DevOps within the team. Okay, then you are going to add that into your team. Once you added a team, you can integrate your DevOps, you can select your organization, you can select your project, you can provide all those details, and finally you will be able to see your complete DevOps project inside your teams itself. Okay, once you will be able to see the team, you can go ahead and configure your Azure DevOps and other things you will be able to do. Even you can integrate your DevOps Kanban board. If you have created your board, you can go ahead and take that board into your Microsoft team. Okay, for that you have to go to here. You have to incorporate your Azure boards. Okay, you are going to integrate your Azure DevOps into your organization. Once you integrate that, you are going to get that all the boards information into your Microsoft team. So these all boards are coming. You are able, if you have rights and everything, you will be able to modify it from the directly from the team. Even you can go ahead and incorporate your Azure pipeline with the Microsoft team. So you can look for the Azure pipeline into the application section into your Microsoft team. You have to add this pipeline. Okay, once you add that pipeline, you will be able to monitor, you will be able to run, you will be able to execute those pipeline directly from the team. Okay, so that's why we can see here. So once you are incorporated that, now you have your Microsoft pipeline which is available into the teams. Okay, other you can go ahead and subscribe your pipeline notification. So you can go and create a pipeline notification if anything is happening. You can go ahead and approval is pending. Okay, so you can notify a people that your approval is pending to complete this pipeline. He can go ahead and directly approve from the team itself. So you are can integrate a complete you can say DevOps pipeline with the team. Okay, you can go ahead and complete those activity. Even you have a website, you can go ahead and bring your wikis, you can go ahead and bring your post, you can bring your all those details into the pipeline, and you can go ahead and add channel. You can see here we are going to bring all those wiki information directly into that. Okay, so you can have your wiki information, you can see here, which will be available into your team. Okay, so you can go ahead and integrate your website. Website is going to basically bring your wikis information. So all those wikis information you will be able to see into your teams. Okay, so the complete integration which you will be able to do from end to end from with your you can say with your teams and DevOps, you'll be able to collaborate, you'll be able to communicate, you'll be able to do all those activity using that itself, and you don't have to go and log into the DevOps completely. You'll be able to manage using the team.